Okay guys, so today's video I'm going to go over some of the comments that were left on my community question in the community tab. So I basically asked what sort of content you guys would be interested in seeing more of, and some of the responses I got were one of the biggest upvoted questions. I'll kind of go through some of them. This guy his name is So Unfunny It's Hilarious. That's his username. He said, "We need a video discussing changes in your mindset towards heavy lifts through the years. How has your self-talk or pre-lift rituals changed? Do you have movies or books that motivated you along the way with your training?" So I can't really say I had any movies or books that motivated me along the way. Much of it was just internal drive as far as feeling isolated and just not feeling like the norm as far as like growing up as a teenager. So in high school, I really didn't have any friends. I just lifted, not really picked on. I've kind of gone over this in the past. I wasn't bullied or anything, but I just was like my own thing. I just did my own thing and went home and lifted, and I didn't hang out with people. I didn't party. I didn't do any of that. I was a late bloomer with everything. I just wasn't into that. So I had a chip on my shoulder as far as feeling like an outcast and feeling like unlike anybody else. Like that's what motivated me to train. And I was, like I said, I was a late bloomer with women. So one of my motivations was like to make myself more physically appealing and make myself as strong as possible. It was almost like the classic masking your insecurities. So you lift all this weight and want to become this specimen, this beast. That is how I truly got into it. Like that was one of my main motivations, was to get girls and such. So these things motivated me. Like I had a huge chip on my shoulder and I was trying to prove to everybody and myself that I was going to be somebody. So that really is what drove me, from the ages of like 14 when I started lifting up until, 20. And then I started seeing some success with girls in college and all that. And I started becoming social. I started working as a bouncer and a doorman. And I went from being like an introvert to being more extroverted. I still say I'm more introverted. I'm more naturally inclined to that, but that was a big shift in my life. And then after that, what motivated me was like trying to become the strongest deadlifter, because at the time, obviously a lot has changed. There's a lot more stronger guys now pulling over 900 and such. But for a while, like up until like 2017, I was one of the top deadlifters in the world. So having the final deadlift at a meet was like the best feeling ever, and trying to push the 242 class higher and higher as far as the weights. And then some other guys came along, Kaler, Larry, all these guys. But that really motivated me for a while to try to become as good as I could. And I was never the best, I should say. I was always kind of up there near the top, that right below the very best guys. I never won meets or anything. Like my highest finish was like 4th at Reebok Record Breakers behind Larry Williams, Kevin Oak, and then one other guy I'm trying to remember. My apologies for not remembering, but I did well, and that motivated me for a while. And then obviously, like in some regards, I had a lot of attention, a lot of clout. Like I would put a video on Instagram and it would get like 80,000 views and like 1 million likes. And that was how it was for a while. But the funny thing, like a lot of lifters are going to find out, is your 15 minutes of fame is short. And it's not always going to be like that. So the last few years, like I peaked in 2017, to be honest, as far as my weights. And now the injuries have started catching up to me and everything, and I can't do that anymore. So my motivation is just not the same. It's more like trying to be healthier and enjoy lifting, but lifting is not the sole focus. So my self-talk before a big lift used to be like put on rap and all that and cuss at myself, and it's still like that, truthfully. I still have that inner dialogue of like, let's effing do this, stuff like that. That's what I tell myself before a big lift. And I put on like, a song like Black Hole by We Came as Romans. That's my #1 pump-up song right now. Or like some rap music like Southside by The Game. That kind of stuff, that's kind of what's changed. Lewis Bruce asks, talk about rehabbing your knee, the progression, exercises, film the doctor's interaction when you find out what's wrong, walk us through the journey, all that sort of thing. Now, this is actually, I can update you guys now. The doctors think it's a torn meniscus, so really not that bad. Like, I'm pretty much walking around fine, moving fine. The pop, like I said, was not fabricated. It was insane, so loud. I thought for sure I blew a ligament, limping around for a couple days. Now it's like gotten better every day. if I move it in certain positions, there's a sharp pain on the outside of the knee. But I talked to the doctors the other day, and they thought it was for sure a torn meniscus. So not the end of the world. I'm going to get an MRI on it officially on Monday. But with a torn meniscus, you don't necessarily need surgery. You can go without having surgery, and it's not like some guys get surgery, some guys don't. You know, you can still kind of lift on it. Truthfully, the bigger problem these days is my back. My back has just been an issue for the last few years. It's gotten worse. It's gotten real bad lately again. Like, it makes it impossible to deadlift. So that's been fun. Like, I'd like to get an MRI on my back to see how bad things are in there, because I can guarantee it's like a puzzle that's not put together. It's like puzzle pieces everywhere, probably. So I'm sort of having to accept that I'm not in my heyday anymore. I'm 30 years old. I've been doing this 16 years. I have a ton of mileage on my body, a lot of wear and tear. And I might have to change course a little bit. I might have to have periods of time where I focus on individual lifts rather than full power meets. I might have to compete single lifts. Like, I might literally have to be like, okay, this meet I'm going to plan for all my focus into squatting 600. Or the next meet I'm going to put all my focus into benching 400. Or all my focus into deadlifting 700. But it's going to have to be like individual prep. I don't have as much time anymore either to like kind of in our interview with Johnny Candido, I don't have as much time to be in the gym for hours on end every day. I have a lot of work to do. So as far as running the gym, clients, the YouTube channel, all this stuff. So it's probably going to have to shift where I'm literally like focusing on one main lift at a time. And my back's going to have to cooperate, because my back is by far the biggest hang up right now with my training. Griffin Stewart, that's one of my guys. He said, keep the interviews coming, the random vlogs, discussions. Definitely overdue for a few Freaking Delicious Foods videos. This is true. Obviously, I'm more health oriented now. I've cleaned things up, but I still love some food. Like, for instance, Tillamook. You guys know about Tillamook brand. You know what I'm talking about, from Oregon. I think it's from like Tillamook, Oregon. Their mountain huckleberry ice cream is the bomb. Freaking love that. So that's one of my Freaking Delicious Foods right now that I would definitely recommend. Also, another very good one. I don't have them in front of me. I'm sorry. Actually, one sec. Okay. This is another Freaking Delicious Foods. Dots Pretzels Cheese Curls. Very, very freaking delicious. Tillamook Mountain Huckleberry, and this out of North Dakota. They're pretty close to Minot, North Dakota. Phenomenal. Try these out if you can find them. Very good. So those are some options. I got you, Griffin. All right, let's go to one other question from Gerillo. Gerillo asks, what are the differences between weak and strong people? What makes someone get strong versus why some people don't get anywhere near as strong even though they train as hard for years? Is it some form of training intuition they have, or just accidentally training and recovering properly? Or is it all genetics? I asked Clarence Kennedy this question a while back, and he thinks it's mostly genetics. Since you are coaching people personally, I think you would have good information on this. It is a lot of genetics. Like, I've had some lifters over the years. I've been coaching for 10 years, guys. Or 9 years. I don't want to get that twisted. I've been coaching for 9 years, since 2013. So I've coached probably thousands. I've coached at least 1,000 guys over those 9 years. At any one time, I'm coaching around 50 people. At any one time, it's about 50 people, but I've coached probably 1,000 guys. Now, what makes someone crazy strong and someone not even close to as strong is primarily genetics. I see guys every once in a while. I get some freaks who come along who are just younger and they're hitting ridiculous numbers, and you can see by the way they lift their bar speed. You can see they have way more fast twitch muscle fibers. They're way more explosive. Just freaks. Like, I had one guy one time who's a 165er, squatting like 600 bare knee, benching like 415, deadlifting 700 pounds. Like, he was so freaking explosive. Like, he had explosiveness like you've never seen. Everything was just lightning fast, and his efficiency was unreal. And that's genetics, like fast twitch, fibers, proper insertion sites on his body as far as his muscles. He had the full 9 yards. And you just see these guys every once in a while. They're very rare, very rare. Like, I've worked with 1,000 people. I think I've had one guy who pulled over 800 pounds, maybe two. So it's like that level that you see on Instagram all the time as far as 800-pound deadlifts and all that. is still very, 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 very elite. It's not very common. If I've worked with 1,000 guys and had one who pulled 800, that's not a testament to like, oh, I'm a bad coach. It's like, that's how few people were that elite. So it's just, a big part of it is genetics. Like I was looking back at my squat progression video I put up 2 days ago. And one of the videos 6 months before I went on steroids in November of 2010. That's when I started taking steroids. I pinned my first shot of test, November 2010. There was a video from July of 2010 that year. I squatted 410 for 15 reps, high bar, bare knee, no belt. That's like, I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't a big guy. It just was one of those things. My deadlift too was very high. It's, these things, it is genetics. A big part of it is. Some guys will work their butts off and never come close to what some other guy will do easily. It's the sad truth of it. Now, that's why I say don't do this for clout. Don't do this for competing with everybody else. Do this for yourself. Be as good as you can be, because that's what it's going to come down to. If you keep looking at what every other guy's doing, they're not you. Their circumstances are different. Their genetics are different. And there's so many freaking fake natties now. You don't know what's true and what's not, who's lying to you. Like people sometimes bring up with me, I had the 740 deadlift on a stiff bar naturally. And people say, you're not even close to that now. Or they'll say like, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I had 0 injuries. I was like 20 years old. No freaking injuries. My back was 100%. I've been dealing with back issues for 6 years now that I can barely get any volume in. Like I squatted 410 for 15 high bar, bare knee beltless. I couldn't probably do that for like 4 now because my back is so jacked. And my hips too. I used to squat narrow stance Olympic style. I can't do that anymore either. And the 740 was on some bumper plates as well, which makes it way easier. But my best calibrated plates pull when I was natural was 700 pounds. I locked it out and I dropped it at the lockout in competition, so it wasn't official. But 700 was actually the true highest I did on calibrated plates. That's a more accurate frame of references of what I did naturally. So it was 740 on some pound plates and bumper plates in the gym, but in a competition it was 700 pounds with calibrated. So I would really look at that instead. And I know I even raise my own eyebrows when I see some guys going 800-pound deadlifts in competition naturally. But there is a higher level of play now. Like people are better. There's more people in the sport. So long story short, to answer your question, genetics play a huge role. And everybody's just in a different spot. Now, if you guys like this video, please like, please subscribe, and please comment for the sake of the algorithm. I'm really trying to grow the channel, as you're seeing. Now, if you appreciate this content, I want you to keep coming back. Help me out. I'll help you. We can keep things going. We can keep a good dialogue here. Get some Q&As coming up here, and John Hack interview coming up this weekend. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.